Now, it's a deeply disturbing idea. A woman who was abused by a 40-year-old man when she was only 12 returns to confront him. But why? Well, that's the central question of the play Blackbird, which has just opened in London. Both Una, played by Jodhi May, and Ray, Roger Allam, are unable to escape from the relationship they once had. Its complexities emerge in the course of the play.
The thing is that I don't even know if it is you. If you are her.
I am. Of course I am.
I didn't recognise you.
Yes, you did.
I didn't. And I don't. You? No.
Your face went white.
No.
Drained
no,
white.
No. When I saw you, I didn't know who you were. There's a woman here to see you. That's all I was told.
When I said
Yes, but I know the name. I remember the name.
Roger Allam and Jodhi May there. We get from that scene, which is quite early on in the play, Jodhi, a sense of Ray's real failure to confront what he's actually done.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think David Harris is such a brilliant playwright, and he's very, very clever in drawing the audience into the sort of completely divergent psychologies of both of these characters. And the fact that obviously, you know, there's a huge amount of denial, and I think that you really do feel kind of genuinely torn during the course of the play between the two characters.
Do you think that's what makes it such an intriguing piece of drama, the fact that it almost challenges our own ideas of abuse?
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, I think obviously it's not in any attempt. You know, it's very clear that it's an abuse. It's stated in the play, and Ray himself says that, you know, he has abused Una. But I think what it does is it challenges the sort of taboos. Certainly, I mean, I can only speak for, I suppose, my character. In terms of what Una has experienced, she herself has been kind of outcast by her own family and her own community, and the kind of stigma that's been attached to her as somebody who's you know, experienced what she has with Ray is quite extraordinary, and I think it does attempt to challenge an audience's perception of her experience.
And the fact of her being an outcast has almost led her to create a mythology of what happened in the past.
Yes, I think what's very interesting about the play is that you have these two characters who really do project so much onto each other. I mean, I remember being very impressed the first time I read it by the fact that you have two characters in a room who appear to be projecting total fantasies onto each other. I mean, there is the sort of fantasy that Ray has of what Una was when in fact she was a child. You know, he's projecting a fully fledged sexual adult woman onto this child, and she herself is projecting, you know, other fantasies about who she was, reflecting upon her past and about what Ray symbolized for her. So I think it's very interesting that there's a huge amount of kind of self-deception that goes on with these characters, and really I suppose that their meeting is about how to reconcile the images they have of themselves.
It must be an incredibly demanding role, I mean, clearly emotionally, but physically as well.
It is, yes. I mean, Peter's a very brilliant and extraordinary director. He's from a completely different...
This is the German director, Peter Stein.
Peter Stein, yes. I mean, it's a very, very un-English play, and a very un-English process of rehearsal, and I think that's why I love working with him so much.
In what way?
Well, he's very bold. He's very... I think that, you know, we have a tendency to be possibly quite shy and reticent in some ways culturally, and certainly the first play I did with him was The Seagull, a Chekhov play, and I remember him talking a lot about, you know, how he didn't want to do something that was a sort of anglicised version of Chekhov, and how he wanted it to be very kind of Russian and sort of expressionist and very kind of, you know, emotional, and I think that's what makes him such an extraordinary director. And the same with Blackbird, is the tendency is there for it to be a sort of conversation piece, and, you know, for everything to be very still, and for it to be a very cerebral process. But Peter is a director who really wants something much more dynamic to take place, emotionally and physically. So yeah, it's quite extreme in a sense, and I think you do feel like you've been put through the mill in that whole kind of theatrical experience.
And do you think that you're drawn to this more kind of continental European tradition of theatre by the fact of your parents? Your mother's French, your father, in fact, is German.
Well, Well, I mean, it certainly meant that when I met Peter, I was very alive to that sensibility, to his kind of cultural sensibility and the context from which he works. I mean, I haven't, worked exclusively with. I mean, I've worked with, I suppose, a lot of English directors mainly. But yes, it does mean that it is something that I suppose I connected with in him.
You started acting very early on. Lots of people remember you from A World Apart. What was your parents' attitude to you being plunged into that adult world so young?
Well, of course they were sort of, extremely reticent about the whole idea of my being in a film at all, and I just managed to be extremely stubborn and persuade them that it was something I really wanted to do. But they vaguely knew Gillian Slovo, one of the Slovo sisters, and of course the script was written by Sean Slovo, so they were aware of what had happened to the Slovo's family, and in fact Ruth First
set in South Africa, South African dissidents. Yeah.
That's right, and Ruth First was in fact assassinated by a letter bomb during the early 80s, so they were conscious of that. And also Chris Menges, who shot the film, was Ken Loach's cameraman on Cares and many other films of his. So it was something which I think they were sensitive to, I think.
And it must have been an amazing thing to be in such a major film at a young age. But you didn't exactly become stage struck, or at least you were very keen to pursue your education rather than give it all up and start acting.
Yes, well, yes, absolutely. I think that provided a real sort of sense of equilibrium and balance, really. And so I would continue to sort of shoot movies during the summer holidays, and did Last Mohicans and a few other movies, and but then obviously I would return back to school and went to read English at Oxford, and so continued and completed my education.
And has that added to your understanding of some of the roles that you've been given, that you are perhaps able to bring some deeper textual analysis to it?
I think it's a great advantage to have. I mean, I don't think it's a sort of absolute must, but I think it's a huge privilege to have that kind of background and to have that sort of familiarity with kind of analysing text. I mean, it does facilitate the whole kind of process, especially in the theatre where there's so much kind of importance and so much to do with language, I think. So yeah, it's a huge bonus. And
people will have seen you a lot on television, Tipping the Velvet and Friends and Crocodiles, but you've only recently got a television set.
Yeah, that's true. I was persuaded to by Stephen Polikoff, who I worked with on Friends and Crocodiles, who was appalled by the fact that I didn't own a television. So yes, I have recently purchased one.
Has it been an illuminating experience?
I can't say that life has changed that much, actually. It's pretty much as it always was.
At least to give you something to unwind after your very demanding role in Blackbird.
Absolutely.
Jodhi May, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.